Hello, 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 everyone. I'm Jack Bigadoo. You also know me as the Hood Sommelier. And if you're here, thank you. Happy Whiskey Wednesday. What do I tell people? The Midwest have talent. We're just yet to discover them, right? The Midwest has talent. Today, we're not going far. I live in Nebraska. We're going just down the street to Iowa. And if I tell you, or if I were to tell you that great whiskey comes out of Iowa, you'll probably look at me like a crazy person, like a ludicrous. But I promise you, good whiskey does come from Iowa. And they've been doing this for 20 years. Can you believe this? When we think about whiskey, we think about Kentucky, Tennessee, even sometimes Virginia, but no one really thinks about Iowa. So today I'm here not only to introduce you to someone that is kind of bringing a revolution to whiskey, but also to have you discover what he's doing differently, which part of the whiskey market he's tapping into. And hopefully, next time you can tell someone good whiskey does come from Iowa. His name is Murphy. He is the founder of the Quintessential. If you never heard of that, we are going to talk about it today. And he is not afraid to be bold and to be wild when it comes to whiskey. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Murphy Quint to the show. What's up, Murphy?
Hey, how's it going?
Murphy is I always call him a friend because he's probably those what I call the real down to earth folks from Iowa. He's not complex at all. He's just, a dad that like to make whiskey and that's it. But don't let the fun, aka the happy smile for you. He's a dangerous man when it comes to making good whiskey. Murphy, welcome to the show. For those who don't know you and those who don't know Cedar Ridge Distillery, which is your
Mm.
distillery, a quick introduction to those folks. Who are
Yeah,
you and what is
yeah.
Cedar Ridge?
Yeah, and first of all, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to do this with you. Always good to chat with you. And yeah, for a quick intro on me in particular, I think you actually nailed it probably better than anyone I've ever heard. I am a dad who loves making whiskey, and in that order, absolutely. But no, I've been at this for a little over 20 years now. I've been with Cedar Ridge since the very beginning. I did take about a 4 year hiatus where I worked at another distillery out in Colorado for a while, which I'm sure we'll get into. But yeah, when Cedar Ridge got started, it was founded by my parents, really. We opened up to sell product back in 2005 when I was just in high school. But before that, Cedar Ridge was happening really before that in the form of planting vineyards to run a winery, and that's really where Cedar Ridge started. Was we were going to be a vineyard and also eventually a winery that did a small amount of spirits on the side. And obviously, a number of things have happened over the last 20 years that kind of caused us to pivot numerous times. And evolve into what we are today, which is a whiskey distillery here in the beautiful state of Iowa, in the wonderful Midwest. But we are very much influenced by wine. You'll see that in pretty much everything that we do on the products that we're going to talk about today for sure. Our whiskey and our winery really play well off of each other. And it's funny, we talk about this a lot internally, but not so much publicly. We've over the last 20 years we've kind of had an internal like identity crisis. Are we a winery? Are we a distillery? And there's been kind of this push and pull back and forth for years and years and years. And I think finally over the last 2 years, we've gotten a little bit more comfortable with the fact that we're both, and both of those things are imperative to our business and to our success. So today we are a fairly sizable distillery that sells product, 3, 4 different types of whiskey throughout the country. We're currently licensed in like 32, 35 states, somewhere in that range. Our wine production is much more small scale. We really only service part of the state of Iowa. But once again, those processes, they go hand in hand. We do a lot of wine cask finished whiskeys. Sometimes we'll even do whiskey cask finished wine. So we really play off of each other. And our wine department, our whiskey department, they go hand in hand, and they contribute a lot to our success together.
20 years, that's craziness, right?
It
Do
really
you
is.
do you even believe it that you actually have been doing, I've been doing this for 20 years?
Yeah, it's really weird. I've been obviously having hit that 20-year mark. I've done a lot more reflecting about that. We have just been like going, 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 and you don't really stop and think about that. You don't stop and appreciate the time and the effort that you put into it because you're constantly just building and trying to figure out what's next. And the fact that we did finally make it to 20 years has caused me to kind of stop and reflect a little bit. And it is crazy. I mean, it's funny. I've been thinking a lot about when I was in middle school, late middle school. My parents told me that they were gonna do this, and I've kind of been revisiting that in my head. It's funny because now, I've got kids who will be in middle school in a couple years, and so we're almost like a full generation into this thing. And um, but no, it is really crazy that we've made it 20 years. I don't know really what I expected when I was just a kid and my parents introduced this whole concept, but I can tell you that I'm incredibly proud that we've made it this far. I'm proud of my parents. I'm really proud of the company in general. We have 55 employees now, about 30 of which are full time, and we've had many people come and go through this organization that have had a lasting impact on where we came from and where we're going. And yeah, I look back on it with nothing but pride. That's for sure.
And we are happy you're here because I always feel like you talked about wine, and a lot of people don't know this, but the Midwest has a lot of
Hmm.
winery between Nebraska, Iowa,
Yes.
Minnesota, and Kansas. There's so much
Hmm.
wineries that we people don't even know exist.
Hmm.
So, for all the people who don't know, if you never seen this, this is their vineyard, right? This is what it looks like. This is the vineyard, beautiful place. They to kind of learn a little bit about before we dive into expression that so your parents start actually more as a wine farm, right? It's not really vineyards per se, wine farm. When did they
Hmm.
switch into making whiskey?
Yeah, and it kind of happened slowly and over time, but the kind of the way that I see it is a series of events got us to at least to the point where we were uh, no longer just this winery that was differentiating by also producing some spirits, but in like 2009, 2010, we kind of got to more of a 50-50 business model where half the revenue we were bringing in was from wine, the other half was from spirits, and it was very balanced, I'll say. But it was around then when we first released our Iowa produced bourbon from Iowa corn. And when we did that, when that product came out to market, it was the first time that we ever really had uh, a spectacular consumer response where we had people lined up outside of our door on release day trying to come in and buy it. And people were definitely fired up. It was this whole different energy that we had never really experienced before, and that showed us that there was something going on. Meanwhile, in 2010, 2011, all the way to 14, I had been working at another distillery out in Colorado, which uh, that was more of a front running state in this whole whiskey boom, right?
Mhm,
They were way ahead of the curve when it came to craft whiskey production, and the consumers there were just eating it up. So my family's back at home in Iowa, just kind of releasing this new Iowa bourbon. They're getting a good response, and I'm in more of a trend setting state in this industry, at least, seeing consumers just go crazy for Colorado whiskey. And so we kind of put those two thoughts together and realized, okay, we're really well positioned to take advantage, especially in the Midwest, especially in the state of Iowa, to take advantage of something that we believe is going to happen, the whiskey boom, and that's exactly what we did. So. in 2014, I moved back to Iowa and got back involved with Cedar Ridge, and around that time is when we built a dedicated whiskey production facility, our still house, and we started running shifts around the clock, 24 hours a day, 5 days a week to scale up whiskey production. So everything before that, it was more winery focused until we eventually got to about 50-50. But it was really between 2010 and 2014 that we started to see something a little bit bigger than what we had seen previously. And that's when we kind of started to reallocate our resources and started to build a long-term business plan around whiskey production.
Okay, now that makes sense. So 2014 kind of
Yeah,
where things started.
exactly.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
did you have a trajectory? Did you have a plan on what is it that you have to go? Did
Hmm.
obviously family run
Hmm.
businesses
Hmm.
can go wild, right?
Yeah.
You being kind of the worker, you being in the
Hmm.
industry, dad being on the field doing the work. Did he
Yeah.
start as a great unison, or did he go, you know what, I want to do this? And your dad is like, we need to do
Yeah.
this. And, we have to come to a consensus. I have to ask because anytime
Yeah.
somebody tells me it's a family owned business, I know dramas that happen in even friend owned business. I can only imagine what happened in family owned business. So
Uh,
let's like young kids say now, let's get the
yeah.
tea of how this came.
Yeah, it's funny, and no one ever really asked about that, and I appreciate you doing it. Anyone who's ever worked in a family business, especially one that is kind of starting to scale upward, anyone who's at least being honest will tell you that it's incredibly difficult. And one reason why it is so difficult is because you have, a family with made up of different people who are passionate about different areas and have strong opinions, oftentimes that are conflicting. And I do remember, I mean, from I'd say like 2014 to 2017, in our team of directors meeting. So it wasn't just family. There were a few of our family members there, but a number of other directors too that had a huge, role within the company. We would meet every Friday morning, and a lot of those meetings were a group of about seven people, but it ended up being my dad and I really just disagreeing the whole time on, the way that we should go. And it was a really, really difficult point, in our lives, in our careers, in our company's history. But I would say that it was imperative because a lot of those, like, different thought processes on what we're doing now and which direction we should go in, they kind of worked as a filter, and it kind of clarified a really strong vision and a path to move forward on. So while there was a lot of disagreeing on how we should approach things at that point in time, at least, it really, like I said, it kind of created clarity and helped us move forward not only as a family, but an even bigger business. And that's where we are today. So I'd say, while there were there were definitely some rough patches along the way, it really got us to where we are now. And early on, to kind of get to one of your earlier questions, I mean, early on there wasn't much strategy when it came to brand development, and that's always something that I've been really passionate about, especially when I was out in Colorado. I saw some really successful distilleries out there develop brands, and so I kind of had a good vision on how I thought that should be done. And my dad's strategy, which was very much a winning strategy and a very financially sound strategy, was more tangible. I was more on the intangible side. He was more on the tangible side, and his thoughts were more,
Right.
if we can create a few barrels of this for X dollars and sell it for Y, that's profitable, and then we can reinvest those and make a little bit more here, a little bit more there. And I was a little bit more on a brand development side, a lot of marketing strategy, a lot of brand development strategy, and a lot of that tends to be intangible. And he is a CFO, an accountant by trade, and so a lot of our thought processes didn't really line up in those earlier days, and so it took us a long, long time to get on the same page. But what happened is. Just between he and I, at least, I mean, is we kind of pulled each other together. We were way on opposite sides, and through a series of disagreeing with one another, we got very much on the same page, and that has set the groundwork to have a very successful company today. And lastly, I want to I want to emphasize that while I'm talking about my dad and I right now, that so many other people were involved too. So many other people contributed to success, but just from the family element, there was a lot of complicated history for about 3 or 4 years there until we got on the same page. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
You I appreciate the honesty because people always make this thing. I hate when people make this
Mhm.
sensational story up
No.
about how just we're just one big family and we were no.
Mhm.
It's almost impossible. You have those moments of disagreement.
Mhm.
Obviously, polar opposite ideas sometimes bring the best out of folks. Um, Let me make sure that we have you back.
Yeah. Sorry, I
Um,
don't know what happened there, but yeah.
so obviously we want to make sure that we highlight that. So
Mhm. Mhm.
before we start looking at expression, what was the things you started releasing on the market? And now that after 2014 we get to 2015,
Mhm.
obviously you have your 2016, probably your bourbon is about 2 years
Mhm.
in now. What
Mhm.
are things you start bringing on the market? What did you want on the market per se, and how did he
Mhm.
start the evolution start from
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, good question. And so, this is where my dad's thought process was really a winning process early on. I wanted to start releasing a lot more specialty products. Say back in like 2014, 2015, a lot of unique one-off special release products like we're doing today. But back then, we truly weren't ready to do that. It wouldn't have worked had we tried. And so, what we did is we actually stayed disciplined, and we really only had one or two products, and we tried to build success through volume of those products rather than just a large quantity of different products that kind of create an overall brand like we have today. And so what we had back then was actually an 80 proof bourbon that we eventually moved up to 86 proof, and we still have that today. But the reason why I say it was so imperative to our success is because we just continued to build that in the state of Iowa rather than even like focus on distributing it, outside of the state or spreading ourselves too thin, which is a mistake that a lot of distilleries have a tendency to make. Uh, we stayed focused on establishing that in the state of Iowa, and that still to this day is the most successful thing that we've ever done because we got to the point where we actually became the number one selling bourbon in the 750 milliliter category, the main size bottle. We became the number one selling bourbon in the state of Iowa, and yeah, there it is. And we are still to this day the only distillery outside of Kentucky to do that in any state. And so it was a substantial milestone for us to hit. And once we did that, we knew that we had a brand there. We knew that we had consumers. We knew we had a good base, and we knew that we were now at the point where we could start releasing more like limited edition expressions of our bourbon. We didn't even get into like the single malt yet back then, but we worked really, really hard to build this foundation, a successful, strong foundation, before we branched out and started doing all these special releases.
Okay. Speaking of the
Mhm.
standard, I guess
Yeah,
let's start with the standard and what
absolutely.
represent Cedar Ridge right now.
Let me
So
grab
as I
some
look
too.
at this thing, this is a straight bourbon whiskey,
Yes,
and
sir.
the funny thing, I had to ask this question as I look at some of the things that you actually have.
Yeah.
It seems like credit is split here because everything that is the straight bourbon or the special Iowa release or
Mhm.
any other one, Jeff is his name is on it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, when you come to the quintessential, your
Yeah.
name is the first on it.
Yeah.
Was it a choice
Mhm.
that was made deliberately made, or is
Mhm.
it you went that you got this one, that's yours, that's your credit,
Yeah.
or is it when it comes to
Mhm.
what do you call it, production, he's the one more in charge of
Mhm.
that and you are taking
Yeah.
care of other parts? So I'm curious about it because that's the first thing I've
Yeah.
realized. I think the
Yeah.
only place I've seen both your name is on the
Mhm.
one we're going to talk about, your 20-year anniversary
And
release.
yes, that's exactly correct. And no, I can see how you'd see that and wonder if there's any awkwardness there, or who gets to claim credit for this or that. Luckily, there has never been any awkwardness on that front. It would be difficult if there was, but uh, we definitely have a kind of a pass the ball mentality here, and everyone's willing to kind of share credit. For me personally, it's always very important to me that on that 86 proof bourbon, our most popular product, I want that to always have his name. I mean, I hope if that product's still around 100 years from now, I hope that it still has his name on it because it was an incredibly successful piece for our company. We wouldn't exist to this day if it didn't happen. And so I hope that his name is on that forever and ever. When it comes to the quintessential stuff, that was actually that was entirely his call, and it was kind of a surprise one day. I didn't even know that he was going to do it, but he talked to Megan, our marketing director, and said that my name should be on the quintessential special releases, which was really special and really kind of him to do. So that's not something that we've ever really had to argue about or anything. I let him decide that kind of stuff because ultimately this is his company. It really is his baby, and so I wouldn't want to get in the way of any of that. Mm.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So this is your original 86.
yeah,
Bourbon is 86 proof, 42% ABV, 74% Iowa's corn, 12%,
yes,
14% rye, and 12% malted barley. Now, is the
yes.
barley from Iowa as well, or is a true barley from a different place?
It is not. So in the state of Iowa, we primarily grow two things here. I mean, there's some outliers, but for the most part, we grow yellow dent number two corn or soybeans. Pretty much anywhere in the state of Iowa, those are the two crops that you're going to see at least large scale. And so could we grow barley here? Could we grow some rye here? Yes, it is certainly possible. But to convince farmers to take a chance on something like that, when it's so profitable to grow corn or soybeans and there's so much less risk involved, that it's a complicated ask. And so what we do is we're dedicated to using all Iowa corn. We always have and we always will. When it comes to the other grains we get them from elsewhere. Our malted barley in particular, we actually get from Bigger, Saskatchewan, from a company called Prairie Malt Facility. They do an incredible job for us. We've been working with them really since we started using barley. And at this point, I'd have a hard time using anyone else on that front. So we get our barley
Saskatchewan is
from
right
Saskatchewan.
above. For people that don't know, Saskatchewan is right
Yeah.
above Manitoba in
Mhm.
the beautiful country of Canada. That's how.
Yes, and it really is beautiful up there. I've had the opportunity to go up there. I'll say this to a fellow Midwesterner. I mean, it is the Midwest of Canada. It's,
It is the
it's
Midwest. So Manitoba, Saskatchewan are the
yeah.
Midwest
Mhm.
of Canada. People
Yeah.
live just like us. It's shocking
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
resemblance and the similarities that you see
It really
around
is. Big
when you're
open
yeah,
fields, beautiful
correct.
scenery, friendly
It's
people.
like
Yeah.
driving. It literally is like driving through Iowa. That's
Yep.
how I felt. So let's
Mhm.
try this whiskey that made you. So it's 3 to 4 years. Is
Mhm.
there a chance that this, as you guys are growing, is
Mhm.
there a chance that the age standard on this may actually go up as far as the blend, or you try to
Mhm.
keep it
Mhm.
there?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say. Over time, I think it probably by default will go up a tad. But at this point, I mean, we have a whiskey portfolio of like 30 different labels, and so when it comes to the 86 proof bourbon, what we're most dedicated to is making sure that it stays nice and approachable. It's 86 proof. It's not cask strength or anything, so it's not meant to be full flavored. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that it's a nice balance of value, right? It's a quality whiskey at a really good price. That's what we're focused on this. And so, if we let the age get too far up on this one, or we change too much of it, all of a sudden that dynamic we risk changing all of that. So, as our age goes up, and it is absolutely continuing to do so, we're more likely to dedicate older whiskey to different labels, such as this is like our barrel proof bourbon, for example. We'll continue to raise the age on that product before we raise the age of our 86 proof bourbon, because we're less focused on delivering, an economical bottle at that proof. We're focused on something that is more full flavored when it comes to our barrel proof. But when it comes to our 86, we want to make sure that it's approachable, it's good, it's affordable. That way, people, the way that we always say it is, we want that one to be in your recycling bin at the end of the night. That's the one that, when your friends come over, you're making old fashions, but it's also versatile. You can drink it neat, as we are doing right now. But when it comes to increasing the age, we will probably lean towards dedicating older whiskeys to different labels before we change this one. Yep.
I mean, solid 3 or 4 year bourbon.
Yeah.
Definitely tastes a bit young.
Yeah.
It is for beginners. It's not,
Mhm.
I would say if it's me,
Mhm.
I would definitely consider a young bourbon
Mhm. Yeah.
from the taste portfolio, but nice, sweet, balanced. That's what we look for in any approachable and new bourbon. It's a
Mhm.
nice introduction to what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
I think when I interviewed about 3 years ago, when we
Mhm.
had our interview, we did talk about the barrel proof. So if you never watched
Mhm.
Murphy, go
Yeah.
back on the YouTube channel. You'll see the review we did for the barrel
Mhm.
proof one and the Iowa release only
Yeah.
option that you guys
Mhm.
have once. When do you guys release that often? It's once
The
a year, right?
are you talking about the like the staff pick one that we did?
Mm-mm.
Mhm.
It's usually kind of a black bottle and is only
Oh, yes,
released
sir.
at the
Yeah.
distillery
Uh,
once a year, I believe,
yep.
or
No, no, really good point there. I got you. So that is our SBC, our single barrel collection. It's an all black label. I'm trying to see if I have one on my desk. I don't think I do, but it's essentially our highly allocated bourbon that we have. And yes, we release that once a year. And the way that we do it is we'll release once a year, but 2 barrels total. One will go to our distillery and to a few retailers in the state of Iowa, and the other one will be sold online. That way, people from all over the country have a chance to actually get some of it because it's become pretty highly demanded. So, yeah, when it comes to age, that one tends to be on the opposite end of things. That one will be, a 7 year bottle as opposed to just three. And when it comes to the single barrel collection, that program is all about how, when I'm tasting through all of our barrels, which I have the pleasure of doing pretty regularly. If I find one that I think is substantially better than the rest, or special in any sort of way, I'll set that aside for our SBC program, and then we will release those, like you said, once a year. So, yep.
so
The
for the people watching, just know that if you right now go on and just want to make sure you know if it is Cedar Ridge Distillery.com. If you go on
Mhm.
that website, you will find every single one of their expression and which one is
Mhm.
available for you to actually try. Again, the standard is what we just tried, which is the original 86.
Yep.
You have the barrel proof of this, which is a little much higher in proof,
Mhm.
116. We will not be tasting that today. And
Yep.
obviously, you have the single barrel that is released once a, and I promise you that single barrel is
Mhm.
banana. I love it. The last time we had, I think at that time it was
Mhm.
about 5 years old, and it
Yep.
was just perfectly delicious. That's where I
Mhm.
knew, and kind of that tells you the best way I describe it is it tells you
Mhm.
what the distillery is about and what the future looks like. That's kind of where I am with this. Now you've been releasing these expressions and now
Mhm.
you're 20 years in, right?
Yeah.
But before then you did something else, right? You guys, I call it, you sneaked into the American single malt game. Like you, there was no big
Mhm.
announcement, there was no now we making American single malt. You just out of nowhere, like
Yep.
boop, just popped up in the
Mhm.
single board game with a brand that now is kind of known
Mhm.
on the
Mhm.
market now, called the
Yep.
quintessential. It's the weirdest thing ever. I'm even me the first time I saw it, I said, "Is it Murphy's special project? And when the hell this thing came out? And how is it possible that it came
Mhm.
out all the way till level where you're making collaboration with folks?" And I'm like, wait a minute. So we had when the session wasn't out when you and I actually had the interview 3 years ago. So I want to know how
Mhm.
quintessential came about. What pushed the quintessential
Mhm.
itself to actually become such a
Mhm.
revere? We had a chance to actually to judge this at the Oscar Award, right? And I'm like, okay, as much as I want to talk about your 20 year of work, I feel like this is
Yeah.
something that is making Cedar Ridge
Mhm.
as a distillery be known on the
Yeah.
market now, because this American single malt that you're doing is really a crazy playground that you're
Mhm.
playing on, and you are going wild.
Yeah.
So First, why the name quintessential? Love of the name
Thanks.
quintessential. Also, tell us a little bit how it came about, and we can talk about the
Mhm.
2025 release that is now in the
Yeah,
market.
and so well, where to begin here? To your point, I mean, we kind of did do it under the radar, and I mean that wasn't intentional. I would say that early on, we flew under the radar when it came to everything, and that actually today that kind of works to our favor because we were able to build up pretty substantial inventory and a nice stock of barrels aging before most people had really heard of us, and we did that, as a small independently owned company, which is fairly hard to do. So back then, it wasn't really great that we were flying under the radar, but today it works pretty well. Uh, so how did this come to be? Let's see here. Um, my dad and I, in particular, have always both loved single malt, but we kind of come at it from two different ends. He got introduced to whiskey in general through Scotch, which I'm
Mhm.
also a lover of Scotch. But when we got into this, that wasn't exactly my entrance. I had been working at a wonderful distillery in Colorado called Stranahan's, which is an American single malt distillery and
Mhm.
one of the best in the country, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And so I fell in love with the category of American single malt, while my dad was really into single malt Scotch. And so we kind of put our heads together once again with a number of other very important employees on how we could develop something that is kind of a hybrid, a little bit of both. And that is how we landed on what we have, which is an American single malt, but it drinks much more like a traditional Scotch style. It's not as big and bold up front. We utilize a lot of ex bourbon casks in the process, as opposed to doing new oak, which is a lot of American single malt is going to be made in new oak casks. So, as far as the name goes, it's funny. We originally, when we first started producing single malt, it was labeled the same way as everything else. It was, Cedar Ridge. We have Cedar Ridge Barrel Proof Bourbon, Cedar Ridge Rye, and we had Cedar Ridge Single Malt. And well, we had a big problem there because what was happening was people were buying our bourbon and they were really enjoying it, and then they'd want to come explore other options that we had. And so they would see the Cedar Ridge label and they would take a chance on our single malt and they'd expect it to taste like our bourbon or our rye. And obviously it doesn't. It tastes nothing like those. It's a very different animal compared to those things. And so what was happening is we were creating a problem basically through perception. Consumers were seeing the product, they were expecting it to taste one way, and it wasn't tasting that way, and that
Correct.
would leave them confused, which was a problem. So, what we eventually did is we realized that we needed to rebrand. We needed to put that whiskey in different clothes, different packaging, if you will. And so that's when we moved over to a label that looked a lot more like this. And you can see that that is it speaks to more of a Scotch drinker. So when you see that bottle on the shelf now, it just automatically looks more like a Scotch than a traditional bourbon, and your brain jumps to conclusions on what it should expect from that, and that really helped. And the last piece to that rebrand was to give it a new name. We can't just put everything under Cedar Ridge. That's confusing. So we decided that this product in particular should have a different name. And when we were workshopping names, someone threw out the name Quintessential. And I can tell you, full transparency, my dad and I both absolutely hated the idea. We're modest Midwesterners, and we didn't think it would be cool to have our last name, which is Quint, built into the name of this new product. So we were really against it at first, but the rest of the team, the directors, they kept telling us it was a good idea. Let's give it a go. And eventually, they kind of won that battle. And it's funny because today I can't imagine it being anything else, having a different name. It wouldn't fit. So it was the perfect name. My dad and I were very wrong in that moment. Everyone else was right, and I'm glad that they were. As for to your the rest of your question, how did we get to the point where it's making so much noise and it's become kind of a leader, one of the leaders in a really good emerging category, being American single malt. And I would say that the secret to our success there is that we have built a really healthy bourbon business that operates as a nice foundation for our distillery to take other risks and be very patient with those risks. So, if we were only producing single malt and didn't have this really nice bourbon business, we would be in a situation where we'd need to chase revenue, right? And when you're chasing revenue, you have a tendency to, all right, let's do this release. And okay, well, that's on the shelf now. Well, let's do another release and let's do another release. and you get to the point where you've now oversaturated the market with a new product in a new category, and that's not good because now you've got a lot of your bottles sitting on shelves collecting dusts, and customers see that and they once again jump to conclusions that maybe that bottle's not a winner, and retailers absolutely hate it. One thing that they don't like is when they invest in a product that is going to plug up their shelves and just sit there and not turn and burn for them. They want to make money. So the fact that we have this bourbon business allows us to be really slow and really patient building a single malt brand. And so when we do that, what we do is we make sure that everything that we release is we are 100% happy with it. That we don't rush anything out to meet deadlines. We make sure that these releases are perfect and they're good to go before they hit market. And we need them to completely sell through and sell all the way out before we release another one. Like I said, if we were in a different model where we were just doing single malt, that probably wouldn't be sustainable. We'd be forced to keep releasing new products and chase that revenue. So that honestly, the secret to the success for our single malt is to have a healthy bourbon business, and we're very fortunate that we do.
Okay, that makes sense. But
Mhm.
also, you're making a lot of wild decision as well,
Yes, yes.
right? So I mean, I've seen a lot of those releases. They're very wild.
Mhm.
But this one
Yeah,
right here, let's talk about this 2025 release of the quintessential that you bring on the market. This number five
yeah.
call it number five. I
Mhm.
want to understand why the name number five. But now, what do we have? We are having what do you call it? Uh, I see we already have fans coming on. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. You see, that's
I
what you
love it. I
say.
love it.
Yeah, that's what you say. So is a two row pale malt barley. You age this
Mhm,
in ex bourbon cask. That's one. Finished it
mhm,
in ruby port. That's two. Marquette wine. That's three. Blended with
mhm.
uh, peated malt finish. That's four. In the Madeira cask. That's
Yeah,
five. So
yeah,
the number five kind of makes sense. So,
yeah.
but you went on a crazy
Mhm.
science fair here.
Uh-huh.
Like I've had whiskeys from a lot around the world. And what you
Mhm.
did here, even Scottish people would turn their head like, what is he doing?
Mhm,
Well, what is happening right now? So what is
mhm,
happening with number five? Did,
mhm.
did you just get bored and you say, I'm gonna make something crazy, or what happened?
No, okay, so let me kind of start at the beginning. I want to mention something that I'm extremely fortunate to have, and it's something that not many other blenders do have, and it has created a lot of success for me personally. I have a very unique jungle gym to operate on here at Cedar Ridge, and it has allowed me to become a fairly good blender because of the tools that I have at my disposal. We are once again a winery distillery combination. So since the beginning, when we first started producing single malt, we knew that we were going to utilize a lot of our wine casks, either full term for maturation of single malt or as finishing casks, secondary casks for our single malt. We knew that we were going to incorporate a lot of those wine casks in the process. Well, we really liked how that was going and decided to also bring in casks for finishing and full term maturation from all over the planet. So, I bring in Tokai casks, Muscatel casks, Sauterne, you name it. I'm probably bringing it in and finishing single malt in it. And so now we're at the point where, I mean, we have, a couple thousand barrels of single malt here, and we have probably, over 100, well over 100 different casks that we're utilizing for this process. And so that is the unique playground that I have as a blender, is that I can constantly be sampling these different casks that create very, very different flavor profiles. And over time, what I've gotten good at is learning how to blend them together to create something very unique, very complex, but most importantly, something that really hasn't been on the market before, not only here, but even in Scotland, where they're way ahead of us when it comes to single malt production, right? They've been making single malt for a very long time, and in the United States, it's a very new category. So how do you compete with something like that? Well, you got to get really innovative, and so that's what we're doing. Is we're doing all these cool cask finishes and then blending them together to create one unified, very unique product. And so when it came to number five, it was tough because I had just come off of a couple really good releases. I would say some of the best releases of my career. We released one that was called Wine Club, and the one before
Wine
that we
Club. I
released.
still I still have Wine Club.
And the
Yeah.
one before that was the Untitled Cigar Malt Project, and both of those products went what I call whiskey viral. We released them, and I mean the Instagram community, the Reddit community, the Facebook community, they really ate them up. And so going into this fifth release, there was a lot of pressure there, and so it was a very difficult product to put together. But I want to touch on the name here, number five. Obviously, you caught part of it, and that's there's five different casks that we utilize for this process. Also, it is the fifth ever quintessential special release. So I thought it would be kind of funny if we called this number five when we hadn't been numbering the other four of them. But lastly, number five is it's a celebrated thing here at Cedar Ridge. The word five. My last name is Quint. Quint means five, and
Five.
so we've kind of celebrated 5 year over a number of different products. We have a Madeira inspired wine that we make called V, which is a Roman numeral five. We had a product here called Five Seasons for a while. So five has been really celebrated. And the fact that all of those different reasons that I just gave you, they kind of came together and decided to call this one number five. So it has been getting a lot of success. I think that the coolest part about it, though, is that in this in this makeup of different casks that we utilize some of our own Marquette wine barrels, which I think were the secret to success on this. I mean, like you said, we use Ruby Port, we use Madeira. There's some peat in there, but those Marquette wine casks I think are incredibly special. Just because I mean, I remember being a kid when my family planted those vines. Our winemaker Kent Falker and vineyard manager, he has raised those vines and made really good wine from them. And then we took the casks that he utilized to age single malt in them. So the flavors that are in this bottle, I mean, they're 20 years in the making, and countless hands have been involved in the process. So it's something that's really special to me, and it's
So
really
so
really
what is
special
what
to
is
our
the
company.
average age then
The
with
average
these
age would
barrels?
probably, I mean, averaging them out probably 6.5, 7 years old. I mean, the youngest thing in there would be probably five
I
and a
ask
half. Yeah.
because of the color. The color
Yeah.
is redemptive,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
It really is. So yeah, it has some decent age to it. I mean, but the casks involved they impart a lot of the color as well. Those Marquette casks, those red wine casks that I was just talking about, I mean, those were virtually purple. It was a spectacle to see, and I was really excited about including them in this particular release.
All right. Let's
Yeah.
try it. Let's see what this science
Look
fair
for
is about.
Yes, sir.
For
Look forward to
me,
hearing
the
your thoughts.
nose remind me literally of
Nice.
fall. It remind me of cinnamon. Hot is like if you had a hot chocolate with some cinnamon dust, like real a cinnamon stick on top of it. Some people already are your fan. On YouTube, we got somebody talking about the pita, the also making the pita and the amontillado. So we have some Cedar Ridge fan around the world and around every social media. Cedar Ridge is celebrated. So
And,
yeah,
while you're kind of nosing that real quick, I'll dive into the first question and the second comment there. Someone mentioned the double barrel rye. I'm really glad to hear that you like it. We are getting ready to release another batch of double barrel rye. I think it comes out in November this year. It's going to be
okay.
killer. And then the Pita de Montiato. That I'm a huge fan of the Pita de Montiato too. What's funny about that one is, I do all these blends like we're talking about right now, number five, and these blends take me forever to put together because they're super complex. They often fall off balance during the process, and I have to keep tweaking them to get them to the point where I'm really happy and ready to release them. Well, the Pita de Montiato, that was a single barrel release that I didn't really have to do anything to other than throw it in that cask, and it turned out amazing. And my love hate relationship with it is I love it because I think it's amazing. I hate it because it's probably the best thing we ever released, and I hardly did anything to it at all. Yeah. But if you do like the Peter de Montiato, I don't want to get too far ahead of us. But next year, the quintessential special release that we do for 2026, I'm leaning towards something along those lines. So I can't release
Okay.
too much on it yet. But if you like the Peter de Montiato, I think there's a good chance that you'll like our sixth ever quintessential special release coming out next
Somebody
year.
said Peter Amontillado, take my money. Just take my money. So let's jump in and let's see what this is about. Like I said, nose remind me of fall.
Mhm,
Nice walking into, having a hot cocoa outside next to campfire, and a little bit of cinnamon on top of it.
mhm.
That's what the nose remind me of. All right, cheers. Mm, mm. Oh, okay. All right. I see what's happening here. So this is 117.8 proof. It's 58.9%.
Mhm,
58.9% alcohol per volume. 6 to 7 years old. Five different casks that came together,
mhm. Mm.
and it is delicious. I, I, I
Thank you,
almost,
thank you.
I almost hate that it is delicious because this is too complex, and it
Mhm,
deserve water. It deserve neat. It deserve on ice. I feel like it can go any other way
mhm.
possible. Um,
Yeah.
this right here needs time to think, to get into.
Mhm,
It's, dude, you created a very,
mhm.
very complex product here, and the
Thank you.
peat is not overwhelming at all. It's barely there. You almost have
Yeah.
to think about it.
Yep.
So you didn't,
Mhm.
if you see peat and you start running, don't run. This is
That
not, peat to scare you. I think it kind
and
of rounded the flavor because you get that nice chocolate
Mhm,
bomb immediately hot, that cacao that hits you right away. Um, those maraschino cherries, sweetness right in the middle. Back at the palate, you get a little bit of that white pepper, a little bit of that
mhm,
that cinnamon pepper, nice ginger that hits you. But that back right at the end of that finish, you get a little bit of that
mhm,
herbaceousness that is not scary at all. It's almost
mhm,
it's almost like natural for it to fall down. So
mhm.
uh, it is it. Congratulations, you
Hey.
put out a product that completely makes sense. I hate to say it, but I
Mhm.
like this better than the wine club. This
Hey,
for
oh,
me
wow, that means a lot.
beats the wine club. That's
Thank you.
just me. But I want, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to look at the viscosity
Mhm,
of what we're talking about here. These legs are long. I mean, we're talking
mhm,
it says everything about the quality of the wine, the quality
mhm,
of the quality of the cast that you've used. For me here, it is beautiful. It has depth, and as a Scotch lover, right,
mhm,
that put my feet literally in American single malt every now and then, because for me it's
mhm.
always hit and miss. This is a winner.
Hey,
This
thank you so much. And I'll touch on a couple things that you said there. When I'm doing these quintessential special releases, I am always trying to create a bit of a flavor bomb, something that's big and bold and extremely complex. And the hard part about doing those blends, especially with all these different casks involved, is one thing that you can often run into is creating a product that, yeah, it is super complex, but it's all just kind of jammed in the middle where, you taste it and then just bam, and then it's kind of nothing again. And I have no desire to do that. And that's why these take me so long, is because I try to I've told a couple people this, but I try to flatten that out a little bit so that the tasting experience kind of follows the outline of a good story arc, if you will. So, you take your first sip and you kind of develop the plot, and then you get a rising action, and then you get to the climax, and then a falling action and a conclusion. And I'm when I'm blending a whiskey, I'm trying to follow that exact model. And so when you're trying to create something super complex, it is hard to kind of stretch it out and make sure that that complexity and balance is still there, but it also tells that story that I'm talking about, rather than being all jammed into the middle and just being boom, a climax, and then it's gone. You don't want that. And so I'm hoping that you got that out of the flavor profile and the tasting experience. And then the
the
other thing I'll
finish the
mention,
finish is the real party here.
yes, yes, it
The
is.
finish is the real party because
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
ginger spice, stays
Hmm.
with you for so long that you can't help but just salivate. Like
Yeah,
it's
it
so
definitely lingers. And on the peated front, you were exactly spot on there. Um, I'm always I love peat, and I'm always hesitant to even call it out on the label. I mainly do because I want to be as transparent as possible about what's in the bottle. But when you talk about peat, you have a tendency to completely eliminate about 70% of your audience just when you say the word.
immediately right off the bat. Yeah,
People hear peat and they're like, no, and
no, thank you.
so
No,
what I'm doing with peat is I'm using it as a really good blending agent, to kind of round out that story that I'm talking about. Every now and then, when you're creating a blend, you'll kind of get it to start telling a story, and then it'll get quiet, and then it'll take back off again. And by blending a little bit of peat in there, it kind of closes that gap and gets a little bit more consistency when you're having that tasting experience. In addition to that, I'm slowly trying to get people on board with peat because I personally love it. And so my theory is that what I'm essentially doing is I'm taking everyone by the hand and pulling them in a direction of enjoying peat a little bit more. So I'm starting very slowly, and I'm gonna be introducing more peat over time, and hopefully people join me in that little walk along. Yeah.
you got me at Pete. Speaking of Pete, for you guys that are Pete lovers,
Mhm.
I know my friend here is a little humble, so he doesn't talk a lot about the crazy thing he's doing. If you watch my show of Monday, I had on Single Cast Nation,
Mhm.
and Cedar Ridge has worked
Mhm.
on a 4 year on a 3 year old bourbon, aged 2 year in a Sauterne cask that actually was peated, and that is a
Mhm.
bold peat. That is
Yeah, yeah,
that is a bold peat.
and we do have just to clear up confusion. Yep, that one in particular with Single Cast Nation, it was actually single malt, but it is bold peat. It's entirely peated as
No,
opposed
I'm
to
sorry. It's
like
single malt that I mean aged three
yeah,
years in the ex bourbon cask and
and then
2 years in a
transferred to.
Sauterne cask.
That's exactly right, and they picked a good one, man. It's funny every now and then, someone will reach out to buy a cask, and as a blender, but also a business person, it puts me in a really weird spot because it's like some of these are kind of my babies, and I really like them, and I don't want to let go of them. But we're also a business that makes whiskey to sell, and so some of those casks are really hard to part with, and that one in particular was one that I was kind of on the fence about letting go of just because I loved it so much. But when you get an opportunity to work with someone like Single Cast Nation, yeah, I mean you gotta release some of your best stuff, and I would argue they definitely got one. To your point exactly. So yeah, what they took was that Sauterne finished peated malt single malt, and then yeah, it split its maturation between ex bourbon and that Sauterne cask, and I am really happy with how it came together, and I hope they are too.
They are,
Mhm.
and I've tried it, and it's delicious.
Yeah.
And for all of you guys listening, if you have a group, if you have
Mhm.
a club, I would tell you right now, you want to offer something crazy to your retailers,
Yeah.
go down to Iowa and grab yourself a cask.
Mhm. Uh-huh.
I promise you, I said this at the beginning, I'm repeating it again. Good whiskey is coming out of Iowa. And I know when you think Iowa, you don't think about this,
Mhm.
but either is a single malt or is bourbon. I
Mhm. Yeah.
promise you, if you spend a day with Murphy, you will find what you're looking for.
Thank you.
And I promise you, it's going to be something amazing and good. So this this is definitely the highlight of the year for me to proudly stand in the
Wow.
middle of Nebraska in Omaha and go, Iowa is killing it right now. You guys need to do like Iowa. Now,
Thank you.
we talking about legacy. Jeff and you are out here
Mhm.
doing it. And what pushed you guys uh to really want to celebrate this 20
Mhm.
years? And not only you celebrating this 20 year, you're bringing something on the
Mhm.
market that is crazy. With this 20
Mhm.
year celebration, you put in,
Yeah.
you are literally going in and saying, "Hey, not only we have great
Mhm.
bourbon, right? So I want to know the age of
Yeah.
the bourbon that I want you to this celebration, but you actually went crazy. I've never
Hmm.
heard of a bourbon finish in Tokai. That's one. In
Hmm.
Ruby Port, that's two. Amontillado Cherry, that's three. And American Oak, that's four. You
Hmm.
guys are little.
Hmm.
I'm sure this is your crazy idea, but I want to hear
Yeah.
all about how
Hmm.
this 2025 celebration,
Hmm.
celebrating your 20-year your anniversary
Yeah.
release is coming up. But before we even jump into that, people
Hmm.
want to know obviously what we are um a lot of people are commenting that your single malt is slept on, and a lot of people should look into it. But we need to talk about
Thank you.
distribution. Not only we are talking
Hmm.
about, not only we are talking about clearly, um, what you're putting out there, but where can
Hmm.
people find your product? We are raving about all these
Hmm.
products. You
Yeah.
know,
So Cedar Ridge, our whiskeys, whether it's our bourbon, our rye, or our quintessential, we are distributed, I'll call it sub-nationally. I mean, we're, like I said, we're in somewhere between 32 and 35 states. With that being said, I want to be very transparent on how that works. I mean, while we are in, over 30 states, we're really only dedicating time and our resources into developing things in a handful of those. We are an independently owned business. And I mean, one thing that I think I talked about this earlier, but one thing that you always risk when it comes to distribution is spreading yourselves you're too thin to the point where now you're in markets that you can't support. And it's important to us, if we're really making a push in a market, that we're able to go there and promote it and make sure that retailers aren't going to bring it in and it's not going to move, things of that nature, because that can be a death sentence. And so anyway, we are in most states. It can be a little bit spotty. We are most relevant in the Midwest. That's where we've been at for the longest, obviously, where we've had a little bit more opportunity to develop ourselves. But from pretty much coast to coast, you can find it. It's just going to be spotty. If you can't find it in your state, just go to cedarridgewhiskey.com. We do sell online. Uh, Once again, legally, we can't ship to every state. We can't hit most of them. And so you can probably find it there as well. But lastly, in the state of Iowa, we love Iowa, and we are pretty much everywhere here. We have a lot of support from Iowans, and so we're on pretty much every shelf, whether it's our common stock stuff or our very specialty and highly allocated stuff. We always make sure we take care of the state of Iowa because the state of Iowa has taken
I
care of us.
mean,
So
I'm
you
just
can
gonna
always
say
find things
this
here. Yeah.
as a state that have a strong college belonging.
Yes.
Huskers. We don't like those Iowa people, but we will drink their whiskey. That's the only place we'll find a consensus. So, to all my Huskers and people in Kansas as well, since we are close, we
Hmm.
fucking hate those kids from
Yep.
Iowa. But
it,
we will sit
it,
around and drink whiskey before we kick their asses. So, to all
isn't
my
it funny how that
Huskers,
works?
yeah, if you're a Husker fan and you're here in the comment, make sure you comment here.
Yeah.
Go Big Red, so we know that we are still here, but we will sit down and drink good whiskey with
Yeah.
those Iowa folks. When it comes to football, we
Yeah.
don't care, but
Yeah.
we will drink with y'all. But
That's one of the best things about whiskey is, yeah, when it comes to sports, we can't be friends. There's dividers up there, but when it comes to whiskey, everyone's friends, man.
like I said, every
Yeah.
year you guys are just more pretentious than ever. But we'll forgive you if you bring us a bottle of Cedar Ridge for you actually take just annoying the hell out of us. So
Yep.
uh this 20-year for me seemed
Yeah.
like one of those heritage
Hmm.
spirit that you guys are putting out.
Yeah.
It has you and your dad name, and for
Hmm.
me it looks,
Hmm.
one of the reasons I wanted to interview was this because I saw the
Hmm.
announcement. I say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I need to talk to Murphy." I could have called you, but no, I need to talk about it because people need to know how long you've been around, things you've been doing, and
Hmm.
this right here for me is elegance, is joy, is
Yeah.
celebration. Really, love red is my favorite color, so I'm biased, obviously, but this
Yeah.
release here not only is
Hmm.
110 proof,
Hmm.
55%, five, four different casks. I couldn't wait. I didn't even want to touch it. I was so excited. I didn't want to touch it. I said, I want to have a true reaction in front of you.
Uh-huh.
So tell me a little bit about what went
Yeah.
on to create this one.
Yeah, it's cool. Coming up on 20 years, our team of directors, we started talking a lot about how we wanted to celebrate it. And it was fun. We had a pretty epic celebration out here. But one thing that I think is really cool about our team is that we all work together as a family, but we also kind of know our own spots within the company, and we try not to really step on each other's toes. And one thing that was really neat and that I really respect from the rest of the team is that they tasked me with coming up with something product release wise for the anniversary. No one even really asked, no one had any input on what it should be. No one tried to control any of it. They were like, "Hey, just make something for the anniversary, and we know that you'll put your heart in it, and it'll be good." And so I really did. I put a ton of thought into this one. It was really important to me that this one was successful because of how big this all is and what it represents. And so, where I'll start is the concept. What I wanted to create is something that represents the entire evolution of Cedar Ridge, our entire 20-year evolution. And the way that I view our evolution is we have three main chapters. I call them the big three here at Cedar Ridge. They are wine, bourbon, and single malt. At the very beginning, we were a wine company. Then for the most of history, the big middle chunk there, we were entirely about bourbon. And most recently, most of the press that we get, most of our new fans are actually coming out of our quintessential single malts. And so those are kind of the big three segments of Cedar Ridge. And so what I wanted to do was create something that represents all three of those things. And so I'm representing the bourbon here in the fact that this is a bourbon. The base spirit of this is bourbon. I'm representing the wine in the casks that we're utilizing, right? We're utilizing several different wine casks for finishing. And then I'm representing our single malt in the blending process, very similar to the number five that we just talked about. This is a blend of different cask finishes to create one unified flavor profile that is balanced and complex. But once again, it still tells that story that I was harping on earlier. So that is what I wanted to do. I wanted to come up with something that represents the wine, the bourbon, and the single malt, and that's what we've got here. So I tasted through many different barrels of finishing cask bourbon that we have, and the ones that I landed on are obviously Tokai. The reason I picked that is because Tokai it has kind of a spice to it, very similar to virgin French oak, and I really like it. I think it's really good for blending and creating complexity. Ruby port, I wanted to include that because port is just a huge thing that we do here. We make our own American port, and I wanted to utilize some of those casks. I utilized Amontillado sherry because that is kind of my secret weapon. If I were if I were an action figure, I think I would have a barrel of Amontillado sherry sitting next to me. It's kind of my secret weapon. And then lastly, the new American oak casks. That's a little vague. It's kind of hard to put this on a label, but those are double oak, double barrel bourbons. So what we've got is Tokai finish, Ruby Port finish, Amontillado finish, and double barrel bourbon. And I create a blend of those things to create one unified product. And that's what we've got here.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
Um,
I-
Nose is like a
mhm.
hug from the best friend.
Mhm.
It
I'm,
is it
I'm going to
is
write that down.
sweet, it is spicy, but yet it is inviting at the same time. That little spice edge that you talked about the
Mhm.
that cask is coming
Yeah.
through, and those red fruit notes are shining
Mhm.
through.
Thank you, and I'm glad you're coming up with that. And it when I do these blends, I think the average person who doesn't have the potential to do blending because they don't have whiskey casks. Uh, One thing that I think they oftentimes overlook is the fact that I'm not just taking barrels of whiskey and just dumping them together. I'm taking certain proportions from each barrel to get exactly what I want out of them. So I mean, it's not like I had a barrel of Tokai, so I dumped it in a vat. I had a barrel of Amontillado Sherry, so I dumped it into a vat. It's percentages of these barrels. to get exactly to where I wanted to be flavor profile wise for this anniversary edition.
The nose is intoxicating. It's really intoxicating. Like I could sit here and nose this whiskey all day. It's intoxicating. I love the nose on this. Is
Mhm.
it is so inviting. It's mesmerizing. It draws you in, right?
Yeah.
All right. Fucking hell. If you hate thinking, you should avoid Murphy's.
I like a good
Really.
thinking whiskey for sure.
Uh,
I like to create whiskeys that are good to actually to write with. If I'm doing some writing, I like a whiskey, whether it's Cedar Ridge or something else, that kind of makes me think and wakes the
this
brain
this
up.
expression should not be called,
Mhm.
20 year anniversary. It should be called Dear Diary.
That's actually
Right?
I might have to use that down the road. I'll give you
Yeah,
credit.
because if
That's
you
a
if
good
you create anything else like this, I need you to call it Dear Diary.
dear that's a good call.
Because Dear Diary is the best way I can write this, because this is things that make you go, Dear Diary, I've sinned today and I need to
Mhm,
tell somebody.
mhm,
So let me break this down. It is a roller coaster
mhm.
of emotional tasting,
Yeah.
uh, tasting wave that comes through. You get that sweetness
Mhm,
that come from the bourbon. You obviously get the heat that come from that, but in the mid palate, it stops you with those wine casks that are having
mhm,
your tongue kind of crackle on your tongue, and then the back
mhm.
holds you down and says, "We didn't have enough. We need another sip." It does not drink like 110. It drink more
Mhm,
like 98 or maybe 100. It's it works so good in a Manhattan.
mhm,
It'll be amazing in a chocolate bitters old fashioned.
mhm.
And to add salt to injury, I want a juicy, greasy porterhouse
Yes,
steak
sir.
with
Oh,
this.
that sounds fantastic.
I just and I don't order that often, because when I have a
Mhm,
porterhouse, I usually want me a nice port, or even
mhm.
sometime a really a Malbec, a heavy wine.
Yes,
But
sir.
this whiskey has so much body
Mhm,
that I just want to slice into a porterhouse, just greasy porterhouse, and just have this whiskey to wash every sip down. So I don't it is stupidly good. If you have not looked for anything through this whole interview, if you have not been intrigued
mhm,
in any way in this interview by anything, all I will tell you is look for this bottle. Look for this bottle in any retailer
mhm.
you can. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Um, it's
Mhm.
yeah, somebody said I have sinned today and it's worth it. That's really true. But I think this bottle should not be called a 25-year anniversary. I don't think you should stop at this expression for your 25-year anniversary. I think you should release
Mhm.
another one that is called Dear Diary. I will not even charge you for the name. It is
We might have to do something like that. We'll work
it
something
is
out.
I wanna sit down with you. I was supposed to be at the distillery
Mhm.
tomorrow, but I fucked up and I thought it was Saturday, so I'm gonna go back. I'm planning in October to come and
Yeah.
visit you, and I think
Yeah.
I will be delighted to
Oh.
repeat this weird thing you
Mhm.
created, and If you have not looked for anything Cedar Ridge, and you just tell yourself, "Oh, I don't want craft
Hmm.
distilleries. I don't care about craft distilleries. I just want to drink good whiskey." Here's good
Hmm.
whiskey for you. Cedar Ridge,
Yeah.
anniversary edition, aka, in my opinion, Dear Diary, is a whiskey that you are gonna drink. It will make you confess sins that you've hidden from your kid, your grandpa, your pastor, your priest. This whiskey is gonna make you say
Hmm.
things you didn't plan on saying to people in here. So you may want to have your diary, and a glass of whiskey with you. It's inspirational.
Hmm.
It is a wave of just inspirational palette. It defined, it defines a little bit of gravity when it comes to what you're used to, when it comes to whiskey. So congratulations to you, your family, and your team on this 20-year celebration. I'm so proud that you guys are doing it. I'm proud of you and your
Thank
family
you.
for putting this out there
Mhm.
for the folks. The truth is barrel proof. Goal is to always tell people story, make sure that people find something on the market that is not usually
Mhm.
uh, publicized or hyped around. And I can tell you right now, this is one of them ones. It is one of them
Thank you.
ones. So we come down to the end of the show, and there's three questions that I always keep. I'll start with the audience question. The first one is, this person have been here the whole time. They were wondering
Mhm.
if you gonna use any Pedro Jimenez, or known in the market as PS cask, in the future.
Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I do have a couple of them. We haven't really released anything from them yet, but I have several PX casks sitting down. Yep. So we have both authentic PX sherry butts that were used for decades, and then also some seasoned PX casks. So we have a nice inventory of them. We just haven't sent anything to market yet.
Okay, so now that
Mhm.
question's answered. So you've been doing this 20 years. You're doing it in Iowa. You're
Mhm.
releasing things that are the above and beyond. I went through it
Mhm.
from a foolproof to a single malt to just blends that are insane. If someone listened to this
Mhm.
interview all the way to the end,
Mhm.
the question is always the same: how can they support you, right? How can those people actually support what you do? Is it by
Mhm.
supporting your social media? Is it by buying a
Yeah.
bottle? Is it by pushing and
Mhm.
talking about what you do? How would you
Mhm.
feel as a whiskey maker, that
Mhm.
people can support you? What can we do as
Yeah.
consumers to support Jeff,
Yeah.
Murphy, and the family?
Yeah, and I really appreciate the question. And right now, it's more important than ever. And not only Cedar Ridge, but really any independently owned distillery. That the market's really tough right now. So if you find something you love, if speaking of us, if you find a bottle of Cedar Ridge you love, please share with your friends. Introduce people to it, because that is really how these brands spread, is mainly by word of mouth. We're not big legacy brands with bottomless pockets that can do massive marketing campaigns in every single state. So we have to be very slow and strategic on that front. So the best thing you can do is, if you find something that you truly do like, please spread the word and share it with friends. One, because it helps us, but two, because that's what whiskey's all about, is about sharing it with friends and doing something together. So please consider doing that.
The question that an audience asks is, what price point are we looking at? Are you competitive on the
Yeah.
market as a price point?
Mhm.
So, uh,
Yeah.
answer that for the folks.
Yes. On price point, this is something we take very, very seriously here. And I did talk about it just a touch earlier with our 86 proof bourbon, but across the board on our whiskey portfolio, it's something that we take seriously. We are all about presenting value, and we realize that one area that we can be very different in this industry is by not overcharging. There's a lot of whiskeys out there that are really expensive. Don't get me wrong; some of them are worth it, but some of the price points can get pretty up there. What we are constantly trying to do is, regardless of which bottle we're talking about, we want to make sure that the consumer feels like they won the transaction. So our 86 proof bourbon, that's a $30 bottle, and we want you to think that it's at least worth 35 to $40. Our barrel proof bourbon, it's one of the most economical barrel proof bourbons out there. It's about a $40 bottle, and most barrel proof stuff's going to be closer to 80 these days.
Correct.
Our single malts, our standard quintessential is a $59 bottle. The only one that we really get out there with is our quintessential special releases. Those are $99 per bottle, which still, in the grand scheme of things, is a fairly affordable price
I
point.
will pay. I will pay not Murphy. You don't even
Uh-huh.
have to. You don't even have to go on into a tangent. I'll pay.
Mhm.
I'll pay 99 for this all day, every day, all
Mhm. Thank you.
anytime, any moment, any minute. Because
Uh-huh.
not only is it is
Mhm.
over 100 proof, so I'm getting
Yeah.
all my juice worth. 5 barrel aging.
Mhm. Yeah.
There's no. You can't find that at Walmart, right?
And,
So I
and
hope.
once again, yeah, and we would not release something for $99 if we didn't have confidence that you'd feel like it should be $120 bottle. We always want you to feel like, I spent X, but man, I would have spent X plus 20. That's what we're looking for. We want to make sure that the consumer feels like they win the transaction, because otherwise they're not going to come back, and we realize that. Mhm.
And you have to think about you have, and I will tell you something, right? And Murphy
Mhm.
is too humble to say this, but think about this. This is a Midwest
Mhm.
distillery. One thing I've learned in the Midwest, which is something a lot of people say, I tell people the Midwest is almost like Africa. You're born to understand that you watch out
Mhm.
for your neighbors, right?
Yeah.
Forget what people say about the South, but in the Midwest, really, we we
Mhm.
watch out for our neighbors. When we do something, we don't just think about us. We think about how is it going to serve all of
Mhm.
us. And I think the mentality there is clear. Cedar Ridge is not thinking we're going to make money now. They're not owned by a big corporation.
Mhm.
All in their mind, what they're thinking is, hey, can my neighbor afford this whiskey that I'm making? And that
Mhm.
mentality, I feel sometime only a few legacy distillery think about that, right?
Mhm.
But a lot of people now are thinking, how can we, make the P&L look good so we can sell out? But that's
Mhm.
not the point here. The Quint family is looking to say, hey, how can everybody enjoy our whiskey? How can we grow a whole as a community? Let's not forget that they're
Mhm.
making an impact not only on their own community in Cedar Ridge, but all around Iowa to make sure that not from the farmers to the people that are providing the grain, to the people that they're hiring, the people working behind the bar in the distillery, and all those people, they're thinking family. So
Mhm.
the goal is not to get rich quick. The goal is to say, how can we grow together? And
Mhm.
I tell people all the
Mhm.
time, your dollar matters. Your dollar matter from being either you're white, Asian, you a woman,
Mhm.
trans, whatever you are, your dollar matter. What that
Yeah.
means is you want to support people that think about you while they're making their whiskey.
Mhm.
So Cedar Ridge is one of those places where putting your dollar behind that bottle doesn't means that that's the face in front of you right now. That's what you're
Mhm.
supporting. He's
Yeah.
regular dad, had to go to football practice, soccer practice, all the things that every one of us whiskey drinker parents have to do.
Mhm.
Murphy does
Yeah.
that too.
I'm
So
going to
it's
soccer in
just
20 minutes.
correct.
Yeah.
He's just one of the guys. So if you go
Mhm.
today and grab yourself a bottle of Cedar Ridge, literally what you're doing is supporting another dad like
Mhm.
you, another
Mhm.
soccer mom like you. That's literally what you're supporting. Just keep that in mind as you go. His name is Murphy. Murphy, any last word for the people out there that are now walking into Cedar Ridge
Mhm.
and just hearing about you today? For the people that are just hearing about you today,
Yeah.
um, any last word for them before we close the show?
Oh, yeah, yeah. First of all, thanks for saying all that. That was incredibly nice, incredibly kind of you. Yeah, for those of you who haven't heard of us and haven't tried us, please just get out there and do it. Please see what we've got to offer. If you don't like it, don't keep supporting. I'm confident that you will, and that you probably will support us. And lastly, with whiskey in general, get out there and drink whiskey with someone. I feel like in this modern day world, we're really losing. social elements of socializing with other people. And I feel like people sharing a glass together is something that's kind of being forgotten about, especially with younger generations. And get out there and have, have a coffee with someone in the morning, have a glass of whiskey with someone at night, and just do stuff together. Yep.
Thank you so much. I'm Jack Bigedu. I'm known as the Hood Sommelier or the storyteller of all the brand I come across.
Mhm.
His name is Murphy Quint. This is a name you have to remember because I have the feeling 5, 10 years from now, these are the people that are being inducted in the Hall of Fame. These are the people that are being inducted as the master distillers that are making it different in the industry. And these are the
Mhm.
people you want to keep an eye on. You may sit here and
Oh,
say,
yeah.
don't be that guy that in 2030 you say, man, I wish I was a Cedar Ridge fan
Mhm.
when they started. Don't be that guy. You want to be the guy that said, I was a Cedar Ridge fan before Cedar Ridge was cool. That's that's what I want you to be. I want to be that guy. That guy that say, hey, we want to take a weekend trip. If you live here in Omaha, if you live in Kansas City, if you live
Mhm.
in Minneapolis, if you're down in Sioux Falls or in South Dakota here, take a day trip, stop
Mhm.
by, have yourself some wine. But when the missus wants some wine, it's okay. Grab yourself some wine. The kids want to eat. They have a nice restaurant down also there for food for you, and they have whiskey. What else can you ask for? What can you
Yeah.
ask for? Nothing else. So make sure you actually join them. If you're in the Midwest and you haven't visited, I feel ashamed because I planned my first trip now. But if you're in the Midwest and you haven't visited this distillery or winery,
Mhm.
I, I feel bad for you. I feel sorry for you. You have to make it a trip. You
Mhm.
have to stop by and tell them Jack send you. The hood somebody say I have to stop here. Maybe they'll give you a pour. I
Mhm.
don't know. But just tell
We'll hook
them
you
you
up.
stopped
Yeah.
by because you heard the interview. If you're here, we appreciate you. Make sure you check out their social media, which is, I'm gonna repeat again, is cedarridgedistillery.com to actually know more. On Instagram,
Mhm.
it's gonna be Cedar Ridge, Iowa. Make sure you reach out to them. Murphy, thank you for being here. Thank you for being awesome. Thank you for doing what you're doing. We appreciate you being here, and hopefully, we won't wait another 3 years to see you again. Hopefully, we have some great quintessential things that at least in a year or two, I'll have you back down so people hear what you're doing,
Mhm.
what you're getting on the market. Keep being weird. That's all I would tell you. Keep being weird. I love that you're not
Mhm.
conforming to the normal stuff, and I can't wait for
Mhm.
us to actually to chat again. For all of you
Hey.
guys out there, thank you for watching,
Mhm.
and we'll see y'all next time. Cheers.
Cheers.